Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Wednesday, July 31st. Hopefully, everybody is having a good day so far today. This is episode 341 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those of you tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Appreciate all of your support. As always, today we are recapping day number 7 of New York Jets training camp 2024, the third padded practice of the summer, and it was a successful day for the New York Jets offense after 2 difficult days for the offense on Monday, and then yesterday in the second padded practice on Tuesday. The Jets came out red hot on offense today with a successful outing, and the offense, without a doubt, won the day and bounced back as Aaron Rodgers had a massive afternoon out at One Jets Drive. We will break it all down. Now, before we do so, let me tell you about our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that gathers tickets from all over the internet and puts it into one place to make it easier for you, the buyer. What makes SeatGeek so great is you know what type of deal you are getting on your ticket. They rate each ticket from 0 to 10. Green means good, yellow means okay, you could do better, red means stay away. So you know as a buyer whether or not you are making a good purchase or not, so you can make the right purchase for yourself when you're buying a ticket to an event. Plus, my viewers, use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. Click the link in the description down below. That'll take you to download the SeatGeek app and use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase at checkout. And this is tickets for anything, sports, but not even just sports. You've got plays, concerts, shows. If you can buy a ticket for an event, SeatGeek has it. Promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. Also, my friends over at Huga House, you see the hat I'm wearing right now. You want the hat I'm wearing now, or any of the hats that Aaron Rodgers is wearing, even Shane Gillis, Shohei Ohtani, Tyler Conklin, many athletes, Jets, and celebrities rock the Huga House vintage-inspired hats, myself included. If you want to get yourself one of their many vintage-inspired hats, click the link in the description down below. That'll take you to the Huga House store, and use promo code BUBS for 15% off your purchase and get yourself some of the same swag that QB1 Aaron Rodgers rocks all the time. And speaking of QB1 Aaron Rodgers, it was a great day for him out at One Jets Drive in day number 7 of New York Jets training camp and the third padded practice of the summer. It's funny because you hear all the panic, right? There was some panic amongst, I wouldn't necessarily say Jets fans, but I'm sure there were some Jets fans worried because the offense had 2 days that they struggled, right? Monday wasn't a good practice, was probably their worst practice of the summer so far. And then yesterday, while it was better, the defense still won the day. Offense had some struggles. And it was 2 days in a row where the offense really wasn't, communicating very well. There was a lot of mistakes and all these different things. And you start to hear some, national media talk about, Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, who are just 2 competitors that want to win, want to be successful, having some heated conversations, but having conversations about how they can get better and building chemistry. And they're good conversations. They're productive conversations. That's what you want to see out of a veteran quarterback and his number 1 wide receiver. So you see all this national media nonsense about, Garrett Wilson and Rodgers are already fracturing. The Jets offense looks bad and all this nonsense. Overreacting to training camp practices in July. Now, tomorrow does begin August, but these are still practices in July. We're only 1 week in, and here we are. Day 7, all this nonsense overreacting, and Aaron Rodgers and the Jets offense was lights out today. They were red hot. They were dominant. Aaron Rodgers, will get straight to the point, threw 6 touchdowns this afternoon. Now, to fully admit, right, it wasn't a full practice. It was more of a, third day of pads, kind of a lighter practice, more short drive to field periods, and a lot of red zone work. But no matter the drills you do, 6 touchdowns is 6 touchdowns. And he was getting the ball to all of his different weapons. He was spreading the ball around. And yeah, he was getting his number one weapon, Garrett Wilson, involved. So to all the nonsense out there of, I think it was one of these shows had an entire segment on Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson having heated discussions at practice and saying how it's fracturing and all that nonsense. To the people out there that were panicking, to the people out there that were overreacting to practice, well, I present to you a 6-touchdown performance today from Aaron Rodgers, including 3 of them to Garrett Wilson. That's how good, that's how locked in Rodgers and his number one wideout, Garrett Wilson, were this afternoon. And when they are on, that's how locked in they've been. Previously, so far in camp, you've seen the connection. Even during the days that the offense struggles a little bit, there is every practice, there are at least 1 to 2 plays. In this case today, a lot more, but every practice, even when the defense wins the day, there are always 1 to 2 plays where Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson do something on the field that just make you say, wow. Whether it's, a deep ball down the sideline, 1v1 coverage, Wilson goes up to grab it, or where Rodgers places it perfectly, or maybe it's Garrett Wilson finding a space in the middle of the field and diving to go grab a ball, or whatever it is. There's always a couple plays that just make you say, wow. And today was one of those days where they were connecting on all cylinders. So practice started. Now, Malachi Corley also had a massive, massive day. The offense had a huge day. We'll get to all it. We'll break down Rodgers and the quarterbacks first. Then we'll get to the receivers, running backs, our usual stuff. So Rodgers, 6 touchdowns. First of the day was to Garrett Wilson. He was up against Quantez Stiggers. Good ball by Rodgers. Good catch by Wilson. He wins that one-on-one battle against Stiggers, who has so far impressed through the first week of camp. The second touchdown from Rodgers came to Breece Hall. It was on a wheel route. And we've seen this a couple times so far during camp, but something that needs to be done with Breece Hall this year a lot more is those wheel routes. We've seen it a couple times in his first 2 years of his NFL career, but we haven't seen it a ton. And part of it was, Nathaniel Hackett, if you remember last year, came out publicly on a press conference and said, I didn't know Breece Hall was this good as a receiving back until basically like week 7 of the season, when after the Jets beat the Giants and he had that big game and all that stuff. Hackett basically came out and said, I didn't even know Breece Hall is a good receiver. So they need to use Breece Hall a lot more this year. We've seen them use him a lot already in the passing game. And today was another one of these days where Breece Hall was heavily involved. 2 touchdowns from Rodgers, the first one coming on a wheel route. Those wheel routes are so dangerous. We've seen Breece have success with those in his career already. We've seen him have success with those in camp. Today was another one of those days where they got Breece on a wheel route, get him into space, and he just takes off from there, gets to the second level, and makes it look easy. The third touchdown then came to Garrett Wilson. It was on a flat route, little bit of a high snap. Rodgers adjusted, got it to Wilson quickly. He ended up scoring there in the red zone during red zone drill, so a quick flat route for a touchdown. The next touchdown was back to Breece Hall. Beautiful 20-yard pass. Seemed like the defense broke down a little bit in the secondary, which allowed Breece to get into a pretty open pocket in the secondary, and that was a 20-yard bomb from Aaron Rodgers to Breece Hall. And then the final touchdown from Aaron Rodgers was to Malachi Corley. It was a corner route for about 14 yards. So you just see how Rodgers spreading the ball around, right? Getting it to his number one weapon, getting it to your do-it-all running back in Breece Hall, and then, of course, getting it to Malachi Corley as well, who I would say had his best day and was probably the Jets' biggest standout today with the way the Jets were using him and the different routes and just the way that the Jets are getting him involved now with Xavier Gipson out. He's getting so many more reps, and so many more reps he's taking advantage of, which is huge for a guy like Malachi Corley, a rookie who does still have some things to work on, but it's days like today that you see the potential really come out in him as a receiver, and a do-it-all type of receiver, kind of a Deebo Samuel 2.0 is what he's been labeled as once he hits his full potential. So those are his 6 touchdowns. To break it down, again, 3 to Garrett Wilson, 2 to Breece Hall, and then the 1 to Malachi Corley, who had a lot more as well throughout the day, which we'll get to. He did have one interception. It was a big man interception. It was Quinnen Williams. It was batted at the line, went into Quinnen Williams' arms. I've heard a couple different things that Kinlaw got a hand on it, and then Quinnen caught it up in the air. I've also seen that Quinnen batted it down by himself and then caught it by himself. So either way, Quinnen with the pick. So he gets his first pick of camp, maybe his only pick. But always funny whenever a big man up front, like Quinnen Williams in the interior, gets an interception. So overall, Rodgers went about 10 to 12, 11 to 13, somewhere in that area, 6 touchdowns and 1 pick in what was mostly a short yardage red zone, short yardage drive to field practice, but still very productive at that. Tyrod also got into the end zone as a rusher. It was a read option, took it himself, got to the end zone. And that's good. Like that's just good backup quarterback. You know, Tyrod has had a lot of experience. It's those type of things where if Rodgers would to go down for a week or two, and knock on wood, he plays all 17 games, but if he would to go down, it's those type of plays that give you confidence. Tyrod sees these things, give you a little bit of a burst as in terms of a rushing perspective, and then of course gives you a little bit of a burst. Can give you a burst as a rushing perspective as a backup, and of course as well can do some things as well just as a normal thrower at the quarterback spot, and so much better than what the Jets have rolled out there in the previous, not even just last year, the year before that as well. And the year before that as well with Zach, who was awful. And then Tim Boyle and Joe Flacco and all these guys that the Jets rolled out. Tyrod, it's those type of things where you can trust that if Rodgers missed 2 games, Tyrod could step right in and go 1-1 in those 2 games, realistically. And keep you afloat, which is what matters most for a backup. So those are your quarterback numbers. Big day from Rodgers, arguably his best of camp. Bounce back for the offense. And now all the panic subsides, which was ridiculous that there was people panicking in the first place for 2 practices in July. We move on now to the running backs. I already talked about it. Breece Hall, 2 touchdowns from Rodgers, so a big day for him as a pass catcher. There was another big run for Tariq Cohen. He had another nice play today. Big run in the red zone, and he had a couple other runs where he continues to show off his shiftiness, continues to show off his speed and his ability to get to the second level, reach another notch, and really making a strong case, especially as a special teams option as well, is always back during the individual punt and kick return drills during practice to make this team. I wrote an article on this today for the Jet Press, my first article I wrote for the Jet Press. If you want to check that out, click the link in the description down below. That'll take you to the article. 3-way kind of feels like the running back competition with the 4th running back spot between Izzy, Cohen, and Valladay. Valladay has shown you some good. I thought Valladay had a really good day yesterday. A couple nice runs. Cohen obviously has had a really good camp. Izzy's done some good things, but I still think Cohen has the inside track just because of, number 1, he's a veteran presence. The Jets really don't have that. And number 2, outside of Breece, but number 2, he can provide more on special teams than what Valladay and Izzy would ever do. So I really like Cohen's chances to make this roster, and it's performances like this that continue to bump up his chances of that happening. As for wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, we already mentioned 3 touchdowns today. Great day for him. But Malachi Corley probably was even the bigger story. 3 touchdowns for Malachi Corley. These were how he got his 3 touchdowns. The first came on a screen. The second came on an end around. And the third came on the corner route, 14-yard touchdown from Aaron Rodgers in the red zone. The other 2 were not thrown from Rodgers. I believe they were thrown from Tyrod. But I have no confirmation on that, but I believe they were from Tyrod. I don't see why Peasley was throwing those. So Tyrod probably had the other 2, Rodgers with the 1. 3 touchdowns from Corley, and all 3 different ways they got him the ball. A screen, an end around, and a corner route. You are seeing Corley with Gibson going down, getting so many more reps, getting so many more important reps, and being used in so many different ways. And today's a day, I think, the first time where, as a Jet fan, you're starting to see Corley's full potential at camp. And look, there are still things 100% that he needs to improve with. I still think his route running as a whole, maybe his footwork a little bit as well, could use some work. But he's a rookie, and he's 1 week into training camp. And for him to have a day like he had today, where they were using him in so many different ways, using him, we even seen in practice Saturday, they put him in the backfield next alongside of Rodgers out of the shotgun as a running back kind of there. Like you're seeing that Swiss Army knife. You're seeing the ways the Jets are using him and just the way the Jets are putting this offense together in general. You're seeing a lot more pre-snap motion, a lot more variety in the playbook, opening up the playbook, not afraid to kind of do some quirky things, do different things. For years, this Jets offense has been boring. Last year, it was boring. It's, no real motion, no real like bubble screens, no end arounds, no even jet sweeps, no putting a wide receiver in the backfield to try and confuse the defense a little bit. It's all this boring 5-6 yard slants, and it's like an offense that's condensed to 10 yards. Finally, you're seeing this offense not only have success, but opening up the playbook and using pre-snap motion and playing around with the defense a little bit and getting different guys involved. And Malachi Corley, you saw that Swiss Army knife ability today, where he can run all these different routes. He can get the ball in his hands in all these different ways, whether it's an end around, whether it's a screen, whether, hey, it's a corner route, go deep. Or even if it's just a slant across the middle, he's a physical receiver that's tough to bring down. Even if it's a 5-yard slant that he can catch, take a big hit, break off of it, and then take it up for another 7-8 yards. Those type of things. And you're seeing the speed as well, where he's tough to bring down. And I really think Corley's taking full advantage of these padded practices, because the first 4 days, it was tough to tell. Not only was he limited with reps, but one of Corley's strengths, similar to the running backs in a way, and Braylon out as well, you've seen him pop off with the pads on, because you can actually see his downhill running style and how tough he is to bring down. Not that they're tackling, but they make more contact, right? They kind of wrap up but don't tackle. Even with that being the case, these physical players, you could really see their full physicality and their full potential come out in these padded practices, and Malachi Corley is the case. He broke out today. What a day for him. And these reps are so valuable with the first team, already working with Rodgers, already building chemistry with Rodgers, and finding ways to get the ball in his hand in so many different ways, which is huge. So that was the wide receivers. Corley and GW. Garrett Wilson led the way. 6 touchdowns between the two of them. Lazard was the one interesting thing to note today. He was dealing with some soreness, was kind of limited, so felt like a little bit of a rest day. He took a huge hit yesterday towards the end of practice on a 5 to 7 yard, really nice one-handed catch, but took a huge hit. Went off to the side, had to catch himself a little bit, kind of got the wind knocked out of him, so probably feeling that hit a little bit more today. So it doesn't seem anything major with Lazard, more of just a rest day. Did individual drills, that didn't participate in the team period. As for the tight ends, the main highlight, Zach Kuntz had a really nice one-handed grab. And I'll admit, I think Zach Kuntz has had a pretty good camp so far. I know the Jets added Anthony Fursker yesterday, who replaced Nick Bawden, who they cut. More tight end depth there, although I think Fursker is more going to probably be utilized more as a fullback type guy. But I would still think I still like what I've seen from Kuntz. I think Kuntz and Yeboah, those more depth tight ends outside of your 1-2 punch and Ruckert and Conklin. I've liked what I've seen from Yeboah, and specifically recently here with Kuntz. Kuntz last year was kind of just tall, skinny, like an athletic freak, but needed to learn how to play tight end at the NFL level. Needed to do a lot of learning. He kind of it was all over the place. You remember Hard Knocks against the Panthers where he ran the wrong route and caught the touchdown. And Rodgers even said, he's like, oh, run the wrong route and catch a touchdown. He was kind of all over the place. So seeing that he's starting to, you could tell he's starting to really turn into a tight end. A little bit more size, making some of these physical catches, a little bit smarter. He's put together a nice camp so far. I don't quite know what his role will be, but as a depth tight end, he's looked pretty good. As for the offensive line, just some notes here. Moses still out of team drills. So hopefully he's back soon. He should be. Potentially maybe by the end of the week. We'll see. Possibly, if I had to guess, if I had to make a prediction, and this is just me, the Jets, I believe, practice again tomorrow, and then they'll have a day off Friday because it's 4 days on, 1 day off. So it'd be 4 straight days, then day off Friday, and then they'll be back on Saturday. If I had to guess, Moses, I would say, would come back Saturday because it would be off the day after the day off. Today was a lighter day. Day off Friday, practice Saturday. Maybe Moses returns then. I don't know, but he's close. Still participating in individual drills and positional stuff, just not team yet. And Tyron Smith had a veteran rest day. So with those two guys out, Olu got first team reps. Carter Warren got first team reps. Both really good to see. Both really good opportunities for those guys. And your daily Tippmann snap count update. I feel like we're going to do this for every day now until it stops happening. From what I heard from the beat reporters today, what most Jets fans probably heard, it was a better day for Joe Tippmann. The snaps were still a little high, but they're getting better. I think Monday was rock bottom. Monday was awful. Half a dozen bad snaps. Rodgers was getting stepped on. It was a disaster. Yesterday was better. There was a couple bad snaps, but it was better. And today was better. No real bad snap. They're still high, but there didn't seem to be any snaps today where Rodgers had to jump up and grab it with one hand and it had pressure in his face. So today seems like little by little we're getting better here. Tippmann's continuing to work on it on the side before every single practice. Did it yesterday. Did it again today. I'm sure he'll do it again next practice. He's been working after practice, so something that he's clearly trying to get figured out. And it seems to be improving a little bit, but still has some work to do. And look, it's July 31st. He's got an entire month to get it figured out. As for the defense, again, offense dominated day, so not a ton here, but a couple notes. Quinnen, of course, had the interception against Rodgers. Jalen Holmes had a nice pass breakup on an attempted screenplay from Tyrod Taylor. So Jalen Holmes had a really good day yesterday. I think I put him down yesterday. He had he blew up a Tree Cohen run play. So he had a run stuff yesterday, had a couple pressures as well. Jalen Holmes has been a guy that I've been really impressed with so far in camp. A couple of the depth defensive line guys. Jalen Holmes, Braden McGregor, Eric Watts. Of course, Tack McKinley has really shown out so far. So those depth guys on the edge have really done some good things. Holmes being one of them. He had the PBU today. And then Solomon Thomas continues a really strong camp. He had a really good day yesterday, had a sack and a run stuff. And then again today, he had a run stuff, blew up a run play early in practice. So Solomon Thomas has had a nice, strong camp. And I will also say this, my player preview this morning did Jeremy Ruckert and Solomon Thomas. So if you want to check that out, definitely go do so now that we're on the topic of Solomon Thomas and the Jets defensive line. As for the corners and safeties, Chuck Clark was the biggest, I think, biggest piece of this Jets defense today. And I've been really impressed with Chuck Clark. You know, was very interested to see how he looked coming off the torn ACL. You know, this is a guy that it's not even like he played games last year. This is a guy that hasn't played a game since 2022. So you were really kind of curious what he would look like after tearing his ACL in OTAs last year. And I would say he's looked really good. I think he looks quick. I think he looks healthy. He looks pretty smooth. He looks pretty confident. Good in coverage. Just that Swiss Army knife that the Jets are really going to utilize this year on defense. And today he had a really good day. He had a big tackle and a big hit on Braylon Allen, which is not easy to do. He did that today. And he also had a pass breakup against Rodgers intended for Ruckert in the end zone. So broke up a touchdown and had a nice hit against Braylon Allen. So a really good day for Chuck Clark. And I think it's been a really strong camp. He doesn't really look like he's lost a step at all, or doesn't. He looks really healthy. That's the simplest way I could put it. And I think that's really positive for a guy that hasn't played in a game since 2022. And then Michael Carter II, one injury scare this morning, left with an ankle injury, was limping pretty badly, went back inside, but Salah said we'll know more tomorrow, but he hinted to the fact that it doesn't seem like it's anything major and he'll be okay. So that is definitely a positive. seeing a guy of Michael Carter's caliber go down early in practice kind of gave yourself a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth early on in the day to see that happen, but luckily he's okay, and it ended up being a fine practice otherwise. So that's day number 7 in the books, and we'll be back with a lot more content coming your way. Again, if you haven't checked it out, the New York Jets player previews episode number 5 was out this morning. We previewed Jeremy Ruckert and Solomon Thomas, so definitely go check that out. Appreciate all your support. And until next time, appreciate you all joining me. Thank you for watching. JETS, 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 Jets.